Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter.
Greetings, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to TV Skywriter. I'm Pat Murray, your host. This is where I talk to people here. This is the local edition. This is where I talk to people here in the Triangle area, Durham, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, Raleigh, Hillsborough, whatever. This is where you in the local area get to talk to those of us here in the Triangle. And those of you who are not living in the Triangle, you can still watch via YouTube. So, very quickly, let's get to our guest, Roylee Duvall. He is the proprietor of Through This Lens. That's a beautiful photo gallery in downtown Durham. Welcome to the show, Roylee Duvall.
Thank you. Good morning.
So what's going on? Because I see some beautiful photos behind you. What are we looking at?
The pictures right behind me are by Michael Rosenberg. They were made mostly in the early 2000s. When he was working on a project that ended up taking about 6 years to complete. He was photographing the demolition and some refurbishing of the American Tobacco Factory, which is just about 4 blocks south of where I'm sitting right now.
And if you don't mind, I know you want to talk about the photo competition you're holding, but if you could tell us about the other exhibit. You have 2 exhibits going on at the same time.
I do. They both open tonight, technically. One is the American Tobacco Factory by Michael Rosenberg, and the other is called Some Semblance by Stephen Fletcher. Some Semblance has only been on the wall a couple of days, and the name suggests the type of photographs that they are. For instance, when you see one of Stephen's pictures of a bird or a group of birds, you may at first not recognize them as birds, but there's still some resemblance or some semblance of what they really are. So it's almost an impressionistic approach to a lot of his photography, so that you have to really pay attention and use your imagination to decipher some of what he's showing.
Yeah, and also his pictures have a unusual texture. I don't know, sometimes, I mean, I just saw the exhibit, got a little sneak preview yesterday, and sometimes, you know, I don't know what I'm looking at half the time. I'm looking at art. I just like art. I don't know how to interpret it. But standing there looking at his photos, I was wondering if he was taking a picture of the birds or if he was taking a picture of the texture, if the texture was more important than the image.
You know, that's a tough question, and I'm not sure that I know the answer. However, for anyone who may be curious, you can come in tonight between 6 and 9 p.m. at Through This Lens, downtown Durham, 303 East Chapel Hill Street, and ask the artist. That's one of the reasons that attending a reception can be to your benefit, because it gives you one of the few opportunities to ask a question like that and get the artist's direct interpretation.
That's a real good idea. That's a really, really good idea. So,
and it gets me out of hot water.
Go ahead. I missed what you said.
No, I'm sorry. And I said, and that gets me out of hot water by I can't misinterpret if I don't answer and just hand the question off to the artist.
Okay, that makes sense too. Listen, I know you're having a photo competition. I don't know if it started yet, but could you tell us about the photo competition? It's, I believe, the 2nd annual?
Sure. Well, it's actually the 3rd. So this is the 3rd year that this has run. It's called the Will Grossman Memorial Photo Competition. It's essentially something to honor and remember a man named Will Grossman, who was a friend, but he was also an activist and very much involved in the arts in Durham. He was a painter and a photographer, and when he passed away about 4 years ago, his widow and other family members and some friends got together and approached me and said they would like to have a photo competition in remembrance of him. So in working toward that, they offered prize money of $1,000 for the first prize, $500 for the second prize, and $250 for the third prize, plus a couple of smaller prizes that are essentially honorable mentions or People's Choice Awards. And the way this works is this year you go to the Through This Lens website, so it's throughthislens.com. If you look at the menu bar in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the word competition. If you click there, then you'll find a fairly detailed sheet of instructions in terms of what the competition offers and also what you might want to do if you choose to enter the competition. There is an entry fee of $30, so it's not free to participate, but there are always some expenses involved in running a show like this.
Good. Now, because there is that $30 fee, I'm thinking this will attract people who are serious about photography, or maybe people who like to shoot just as a hobby, but they're sort of inching towards becoming professional or wanting to get real feedback, about their photographs. So how does a beginner or a talented amateur or someone in that position I just mentioned, how do they know when they're good enough to exhibit and to compete?
Well, that's always a tough question, because there are many times when friends and family will say, oh, you have such wonderful pictures, but friends and family may not be a good judge, or they may just not be honest with you. So when you enter a competition like this, in some ways it's a fairly painless approach to having professionals judge your work. If you are serious about your work, then the way this works this year is you will submit up to 3 images via email. The judges that I mentioned earlier will look at all the work, and then they're going to choose probably 50 pieces that will eventually be on display in the gallery. Then those 50 pieces will be submitted in frames, and when the framed pieces have arrived at the gallery, then all 3 of the judges will get together and choose based on not just the image but also the quality of the print and the way it's presented. And that's when they'll make their final decision about the money prizes. So, this is really, if you are serious, this is a good way to sort of get your feet wet without it being embarrassing to you in any way, because out of probably 100 people or so that will enter, we know that only 3 are guaranteed to be in the money, but that doesn't mean that your work isn't wonderful just because you don't take a top prize. We don't say, oh, this was the worst picture submitted this year, so there are no Razzie Awards in a competition like this. And, I think it could be an opportunity for growth and to get some good feedback.
Nice. Now, I know that it's probably a little past time for you to open your gallery, so I'll just have one more question. Is this competition restricted to people in the Triangle?
No, and it's not. In fact, I think it would be wonderful to have people outside the Triangle enter this. Now, you must understand that if you don't live in the area, that you're going to then have to pack and ship your finished art if it's one of the top selections by the judges. So that could incur some additional expense or some inconvenience to you. Ideally, it would really be best for us if you can appear in person and deliver your framed piece. Okay. But I think under certain circumstances we would allow framed work to be shipped to us. Now, one other thing that I should mention is the theme for this year is heritage, which has a lot of possibilities. That could be your personal heritage, your cultural heritage, the heritage of where you live. If you live on a farm, you could talk about the heritage of the farm. Yeah, and somebody's trying to get in.
But in our last few seconds, Roylee, tell us again your address and also your website, because we're able to enjoy some of the photographs on your website as well, which I think is nice.
Great. All right, the address for the business, first of all, it's called Through This Lens. The web address is throughthislens.com. And we're located at 303 East Chapel Hill Street in downtown Durham.
Okay, and with that, thanks a lot, Roylee. And I think for $30, it actually might be a really cool idea to join this competition, because for $30, to be able to say that your art was on display at a photo gallery might be your next step up to exhibiting in a gallery in your area, or even at Through This Lens. I don't know what criteria Roylee uses to choose photos. That's something we can talk about in another interview. And with that, have a great day. Thanks a lot, Roylee Duvall. Very happy to have you on the show, Roylee.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And now, can you tell me what I do to sign off?
Well, actually, you just click on the little red telephone top of your screen. And while Roylee is disengaging, let me just tell you folks, if you'd like to be a guest on TV Skywriter, just write to me at durhamskywriter@gmail.com. Hopefully, if you're here in the area, you already know about the Durham Skywriter. That's Durham's online community paper. You can read that at durhamskywriter.com. The regular edition of TV Skywriter is on Sundays. That's not limited in terms of time. I talk to people around the world, entrepreneurs, authors, musicians, business people, whatever. With that, have a good day. Ciao for now. Thanks, Roylee. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.